Hi everybody, Timothy here. I greet you all in Jesus Christ's mighty name. It is April 10th, 2026. Well, I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about music distribution because this is a topic that I've been kind of getting into here. And I've been checking out some services of particular interest to me. Basically, services that I can get my music up on places like Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon Music. Now, I have done this type of stuff before, but with a computer, back when I was using Root Note, which we're going to try to get back onto here in the days to come. I've been dabbling with it for the last couple of weeks, and they have a mobile app now that you can use to upload. And if your media converter app, such as the one that I have, it's called Media Converter, it'll convert to MP3 320K 44,000. The problem is, for some reason, it doesn't seem like it wants to upload to Root Note. Well, in response to that, Root Note alerted me to a new tool that they have. We're gonna give it a go here in the days to come, and it's called Root Note Convert. Basically, the idea is you go to convert.rootnote.com and you throw your file in, and it's supposed to convert it to Root Note specs. Now, the idea is fascinating in theory. How it'll actually work in practice, though, I don't know. It's gonna be kind of one of those things where it's like, So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But the one thing that I can honestly say about Root Note, and I've had my gripes with them over the years, but they've always come through and they've always done their best to make my customer service simply phenomenal. I remember whenever I was with Amuse, and they too were pretty good, but Amuse, the problem I had with Amuse, they would say, oh yeah, well, we'll put your music on Spotify. We'll get your music up onto this playlist and that playlist. Well, the problem with Muse, they never followed through. They'd put the music up on Spotify and up on the other streaming services, all right. But no matter whenever I would send them the link to the Spotify through their submission form, because they would say to do that once it got put up there, that they would add it to their list of artists on Spotify Amuse playlist. They never followed through with that aspect. And so I always felt kind of ripped off, unimportant, by this idea of, well, you say that you will provide a place for us artists through Muse to grow. You'll help us to promote our music through this Amuse Spotify Radar playlist or whatever they called it. But they never actually followed through with putting the track up that you would submit to their playlist submission team for Spotify. And so for me as a musician, I'm thinking, why am I doing this? And so for months I was with Amuse, and eventually I left Amuse. Great service if you just want to be put up on, Spotify. But there was no actual help to ensure that your music would get heard. And then eventually they went paid. There's a lot of these distributors that went paid. TuneGo, they went paid. I remember when TuneGo was free. I remember when TuneGo used to be a service that would provide a place for you to put your material, and you could enter into different contests and stuff. Well, I think all that went away, although it might be behind a paywall nowadays. But the point of the matter is, TuneGo used to be a free service, okay? Now it's paid. So there's a lot of these services that have gone paid, and I think Verse One Distribution, did I mention them already? I think they're another one that went paid. I remember going through them, and they took one of my tracks, and they said that it was not mine, that I had sampled. And I can tell you from 100% honesty and with 100% clarity in my conscience that I do not sample. I never have, and I never will. I do not believe in sampling other people's work and using it as a part of mine. Now, I have used GarageBand instruments such as drums and things, but you play those drums and you make the instruments do what you want the instruments to do in your music. That's how GarageBand works. That's the point of GarageBand. And so, I never used samples other than GarageBand drums and stuff in my music. And of course, all that stuff is free use anyway. It would be no different than if somebody used the MIDI instruments in a MIDI keyboard and they played a brand new original piece. That isn't sampled. I'm using a collection of MIDI instruments to make an original piece using .MIDI files to create my original work. Now, don't confuse the MIDI with loops. I don't use loops. I have never used loops in my music because, to me, a loop is a sample of somebody else's work. Now, if you hold the idea that a loop is a sample of somebody's intellectual works, then, of course, you don't use it. Or at least I don't use it. And there's, this kind of gray area amongst musicians where they say, well, what constitutes a sample? Well, I take a hardline, rigid stance on that And my stance is, if you are using a loop, it doesn't matter what it is, unless that loop was recorded by you, then you are using somebody else's sampled work. And you can say that it's somebody else's because it isn't yours. Any loop, even if it's a 3-second drum loop, in my mind, that's a sample work. Again, there's people that take a lot less of a rigid stance on that than I do. I'm sure there's people that are even more hardline on that than I am. But I take a very hard stance on that. And so I have never used any type of samples in my music. And for verse 1, and I think United Masters was another one that said, "Oh yeah, well you used samples in your music." No, I didn't. Nope. Never have, never will. Now, I do have a track that I have uploaded to YouTube, okay? This is something that I would not put out through an aggregator like a Muse or Root Note or something. This is just something that I made. And it's got air traffic control in it. And it is not air traffic control that I recorded. It is air traffic control that I downloaded off of liveatc.net. And it is air traffic control for Beaver County Airport. And it's in my track On the Cross. Now, the reason why I won't put that up on streaming services like Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, places like that, is because, again, it isn't mine. That air traffic control was put out by a website that I do not own. And so in my mind, it is sampled music. See, I'm not saying I don't dabble with samples. I just don't put them out on the streaming services. I did put that track up on YouTube, and that's as far as it's going to go. By the way, when you look at it on YouTube, it's on my personal channel. It is not on a topic channel. It is on my personal YouTube channel. Now, what will we do in the future should we achieve going through a platform like Root Note? Well, the music and the constructs of the music is going to be changed a little bit. The problem with going through a distribution service like Root Note, it does take the experimental edge out of the picture. And the reason why it does that is because all of these platforms like Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, Shazam, Lyrics, Match, all of these services all have higher standards for what they allow and don't allow on their platforms. And so I'm looking at, from a consumer perspective and from a creator perspective, what can I put out through a service like Root Note? What is going to only be able to go on my personal YouTube channel? So we'll have to kind of play this all by ear. And, I'm going to be navigating a bit of a tightrope, if you will, with aggregator versus personal YouTube channel and the overall personal liberties of being a creative musician. So it's going to be interesting to track all of this in the days to come. But the other thing that I'm going to point out here, we'll switch gears. You all know that I'm into aviation and to the air shows and stuff like that. For those of you who have been long-time listeners of the podcast. So we have an air show coming up on the 13th of April. I'm going to try to get this out before then. We have the air show coming up on the 13th of April. It is the Sun and Fun Expose. Let me stop here for this car. And that will be in Lakeland, Florida. Lakeland, Florida on the 13th of April. And it'll be going up to the 19th of April. They'll have everything there from military aircraft to ultralights, just as they usually do. I always look forward to the ultralights. I'm an ultralight guy. Always have been, probably always will be. One of these days I'd love to have the opportunity to fly one. But we'll see how that pans out as well. But it is the Sun and Fun Air Show at Lakeland Linder International Airport, LAL, Lima Alpha Lima, in Lakeland, Florida, 13th through the 19th. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the Brother Timothy Clark podcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in here on this beautiful 10th of April 2026. And those sirens that you heard there at the beginning of the podcast, about 3-4 minutes in, those have been going off lately for fires and things. So it's kind of getting a little intense at times. It just seems like they're going off a lot more. But anyhow, you want to go ahead and drop me an email. My email address is TimothyClarkMusic@me.com. My website address is TimothyClarkMusic.wordpress.com. And if you are listening on YouTube and or Spotify, on those particular platforms, leave me a comment. I'll get back in touch with you on there. And that'll do it until next time. Stay blessed. Stay safe in Christ, knowing that He is in control of all the things that are happening in this world today. Just because it is happening does not mean that He approves of it, but He is allowing for it in His will. He is permitting it to happen. For in some way it'll be a glorification of Him and His sovereign plans. And I won't even begin to I won't even begin to try to understand why things like this are taking place. I mean, you have this looming threat with the war with Iran, and all the stuff going on in Russia and the Ukraine. So I won't even begin to try to unpack why the Lord is allowing all this to happen. But He is. And so I believe that in some way, shape, or form, that it is happening so that He, in, again, some way, shape, or form, can receive glory and honor. So, until next time, this is Timothy. Stay blessed in Christ. We'll do this all over again next time soon, Lord willing, on another episode of the Brother Timothy Clark podcast. Until next time, see you.